Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. Pam Bondi has had a rocky tenure as Donald Trump's Attorney General. There was the cabinet meeting where she was so eager to praise Trump that she said this.
Since you have been in office, President Trump, your DOJ agencies have seized more than 22 million fentanyl pills, 3,400 kilos of fentanyl since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media, 258 million lives.
Remember, there are only 340 million people in the United States, so according to Bondi, if it wasn't for Donald Trump, 3/4 of the U.S. population would have died by now. She's also been widely seen to have mishandled the Epstein case. First, there were the binders of documents that contained nothing new, and then there was the client list on her desk that never materialized, all of which have only fueled the conspiracy theories engulfing the president. But there are also policy decisions she has made that don't get nearly enough attention. And across South Florida and around the White House are these mobile billboards attacking Bondi for making gun safety laws weaker. The billboards are part of a campaign by March for Our Lives, the group that rose out of the mass shooting in Parkland in 2018. This week, I spoke to one of the founders of March for Our Lives and its executive director, Jaclyn Corin, who was a student at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High on the day of that tragic event.
Pam Bondi represents a unique and deeply personal betrayal to both me and the Parkland community at large. She was actually the very first official I met after the shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, where I was a junior at the time of the shooting. And at a time when our pain was still very raw, she presented herself as a champion of our cause. Behind closed doors, she talked about school safety and didn't get to the core of the issue, which is the gun. And so that was very frustrating to me and revealed that this would be an uphill battle to get people to actually take the fight for gun safety seriously. But out in the open, she supported red flag laws. She supported, raising the age to buy a firearm from 18 to 21 in the state of Florida. She supported all the things back then because it was politically convenient for her. And now she's Attorney General of the United States. She has a lot of power, and she has done so much to strip back all of the progress the gun violence prevention movement has brought forth over the last few years, including supporting budget cuts to the ATF, including creating a Second Amendment task force that isn't actually about upholding constitutional rights, but rather just upholding the profit-making values of the gun lobby. She has completely stripped back community-based violence intervention funding, which are proven to protect lives, save lives, and actually support direct service work of community members to prevent violence before it happens. And she's also completely destroyed the ATF's zero tolerance policy for rogue gun dealers who repeatedly break the law and supply weapons used in crimes.
You said you feel this as a personal betrayal. Did you really have confidence, though, that she would, as Attorney General, follow through on some of the things that she said she supported in Florida?
Well, as Florida Attorney General, she built her political career off of being the one to promise finding common ground on the issue about guns. That was something that propelled her career forward. So in some ways, I expected some sort of willingness to work with the gun violence prevention movement on figuring out what the best way forward is. But not only has she completely been a hypocrite and not fulfilled any of the promises that she made to Parkland families 7 years ago, she has completely ignored our requests to meet with her, and she's just doing exactly what the gun lobby wants her to do. She is completely a puppet, and so that's why we're holding her accountable, to remind her what she said 7 years ago and remind her and the country that those words should matter.
It's fascinating because, watching March for Our Lives grow out of that tragedy and empowering young people. I want to talk to you about the organization now that you're the executive director. You were one of the co-founders. You've now, is an executive director. But before I even go there, I sort of want to talk about the spirit of young people, because one of the things that we saw in this last presidential election with the election of Donald Trump was young people going to him in numbers that we had never seen before. I'm curious as to where all that energy went, that you saw young people on the issue of guns turning out and trying to exert political power, to then seeing so many young people now voting for Donald Trump. How do you make sense of what you saw in this last election?
Yeah, well, first of all, back in 2018 and 2019, gun violence prevention was a top political and social issue for young people. And I am aiming to make that the case again as executive director of March for Our Lives. It should be a top political and social issue for young people because it is the leading cause of death for children in this country. The leading cause of death, beyond car accidents, beyond cancer, beyond anything. Guns are killing our kids the most, and we have to stop that. And so it's devastating to see young people voting for Donald Trump, who is so obviously opposed to any sort of common sense gun regulation. And that's why March for Our Lives is here to educate young people. Hey, people like Attorney General Pam Bondi, people like Trump, people like everyone in his administration are not here to support your life. They are here to support their pockets. So we're going to be hosting a whole bunch of educational and accountability campaigns to reveal the truth behind this crisis. And the reality is, it's not even all that political. It shouldn't be. These are lives, and we are just trying to push for common sense gun regulation to make sure we can have kids go to school and not fear for their lives every single day.
When we come back, we have seen cities and counties across Florida pressured to sign agreements to work with ICE. In a moment, we'll talk to one mayor who is pushing back. Stay with us.